大家好，我是 Stella。
我喜欢我们家为你念的是《奇迹正文》第31章最终的慧见 Chapter 31 The Final Vision 7人间救主之慧见 7 The Savior's Vision
7就是改变 Turning is change， 救恩不会采用你认不出对你有益的方法，也不会要你做出你认不得的改变。Salvation does not seek to use a means as yet too alien to your thinking to be helpful, nor to make the kind of change you could not recognize. 在之间的领域里，你不能不仰赖概念，故救恩的任务便是改变你的概念。Concepts are needed while perception lasts, and changing concept is salvation's task. 它必须借用对比的形式，故不属于真理层次，因真理内没有对立，也永不改变。For it must deal in contrasts, not in truth, which has no opposite and cannot change. 根据世界的观念，有罪的就是恶的，无辜的就是善的。In this world, the concepts are the guilty bad, the good are innocent. 世人的自我概念都是靠自己善的一面来宽恕恶的一面而形成的。And no one here but holds a concept of himself in which he counts the good to pardon him the bad. 故他无法信任别人善的一面，深恐对方恶的一面埋伏于后。Nor does he trust the good in anyone, believing in that the bad must lurk behind. 这种自我概念影射出人心的险恶与不值得信任。This concept emphasizes treachery, and trust becomes impossible. 只要你还看得见自己内在的恶，你就不可能信赖任何人。Nor could it change while you perceive the bad in you. 你若还百般重视攻击能力，是不可能察觉自己的恶念的。You could not recognize your evil thought as long as you see value in attack. 你会不时瞥见那些念头，但不会认为它们荒谬无稽。You will perceive them sometimes, but will not see them as meaningless. 它们的狰狞面目掩盖了他们的真正面容，重创了你那可怜又阴暗的自我概念，使他更感到罪孽深重。And so they come in fearful form, with content still concealed, to shake you sorry concept of yourself and blacken it with still another crime. 你无法赋予自己纯洁无罪的本质，因你早已迷失了自己的真相。You cannot give yourself your innocence, for you are too confused about yourself. 但你眼前只要出现一位值得你宽恕的弟兄，你的自我概念便会全面改观。But should one brother dawn upon your sight as wholly worthy of forgiveness, then your concept of yourself is wholly changed. 你的恶念与他的过犯，你并获得了宽恕，因为你决心不受他们左右。Your evil thoughts have been forgiven with his, because you let them all affect you not. 你决心不再充当弟兄内在邪恶与罪疚的象征。No longer do you choose that you should be the sign of evil and of guilt in him. 当你逐渐信任他内在的美善时，表示你已开始信任自己美善的一面了。And as you give your trust to what is good in him, you give it to the good in you. 在概念的层次，它在你眼中的价值已超过了那具身体，因为那种善却不是身体显示得出的。In terms of concept, it is thus you see him more than just a body, for the good is never what the body seems to be. 你会把身体的表现视为你和他之间低层次的互动。The actions of the body are perceived as coming from the baser part of you and thus of him as well. 你开始把焦点置于他的善性上，身体在你眼中显得越来越不真实。By focusing upon the good in him, the body grows decreasingly persistent in your sight and will at length be seen as little more than just a shadow circling round the good. 这就成了你的自我概念，因你已进入非肉眼所能见的世界。And this will be your concept of yourself when you have reached the world beyond the sight your eyes alone can offer you to see. 从此，你只会仰赖上天之助，帮你诠释所见的一切。For you will not interpret what you see without the aid that God has given you. 他会教你去看他眼中的另一个世界。And in his sight, there is another world. 你同时活在他的世界与你自己的世界里。You live in that world just as much as this. 这两个世界恰恰好代表了你对自己的不同概念，它们只会互相消长，无法合在一起。For both are concepts of yourself which can be interchanged but never jointly held. 它们之间的差异远大于你的想象，而你会爱上圣灵赋予你的自我概念，因它不是为你一人而造的。The contrast is far greater than you think, for you will love this concept of yourself because it was not made for you alone. 这自我概念是天赐予你的，且要你送给那自认为与你有别的弟兄。Born as a gift for someone not perceived to be yourself, it has been given you. 只因你献给弟兄的宽恕，圣灵已为你们两人一起接收下来了。For your forgiveness offered unto him has been accepted now for both of you. 你对同行的弟兄生出信心，那可怕的自我概念才有改变的可能。Have faith in him who walks with you, so that your fearful concept of yourself may change. 唯有着眼于他内的善性，你才不会被自己的恶念吓到，因为这些恶念再也遮蔽不了他在你眼中的真相。And look upon the good in him, that you may not be frightened by your evil thought, because they do not cloud your view of him. 你必须甘愿改变，转机才会欣然来临。And all this shift requires is that you be willing that this happy change occur. 这是他所要求的唯一条件。No one than this is asked. 为此，不妨回顾一下现有的自我概念带给你的种种后果，然后欢喜接受我们给你的另一相对的概念吧。On its behalf, remember what the concept of yourself that now you hold has brought you in its wake, and we welcome the glad contrast offered you. 伸出你的手来，接下你仁慈的送给别人的宽恕之礼，因为他跟你同样的需要。Hold out your hand, that you may have the gift of kind forgiveness, which you offer one whose need, for it is just the same as yours. 你那无情的自我概念才会脱胎换骨，带给你上主的平安。And that the cruel concept of yourself be changed to one that brings the peace of God. 你现有的自我概念保证了你永远无法完成你在世的任务。The concept of yourself that now you hold would guarantee your function here remain forever unaccomplished and undone. 它就这样将你打入回天乏术的绝望人工 and thus it dooms you to a bitter sense of deep depression and futility. 其实只要你不把它当成改变不了的观念而长期说在心里，你根本没有改造它的必要。Yet it need not be fixed unless you choose to hold it past the hope of change and keep it static and concealed within your mind. 你只需将自我概念交托到圣灵的手中，唯有他明白如何改造这一概念来帮你完成任务，为你带来平安，你也才能将平安带给别人而享有他的祝福。Give it instead to him who understands the changes that it needs to let it serve the function given you to bring you peace, that you may offer peace to have it yours. 这两个选项都存于你的心内，任你选用，你能够彻底改变对自己的看法。Alternatives are in your mind to use, and you can see yourself another way. 你难道宁可跟救恩作对，也不愿让自己成为世界得救不可缺少的一员？Would you not rather look upon yourself as needed for salvation of the world, indeed of as salvation's enemy? 自我概念有如一个挡箭牌，默默挡在真理面前，使你看不清真相。The concept of the self stands like a shield, a silent barricade before the truth, and hides it from your sight. 你所见到的都属于形象之类，因为你是透过障碍物去看的，它必会模糊你的视线，扭曲你的见解，使你看不清任何事物。All things you see are images, because you look on them as through a barrier that dims your sight and warps your vision so that you behold nothing with clarity. 你眼中一切都变得暗淡无光。The light is kept from everything you see. 情况最好时，你会看到真实之境的倒影。At most, you glimpse a shadow of what lies beyond. 最坏时，你只看到一片黑暗，眼中尽是可怕的魅影，它们全都来自恐惧所生的醉酒之念。At least, you merely look on darkness and perceive the terrified imaginings that come from guilty thoughts and concepts born of fear. 你之所见就是地狱，因为恐惧就是地狱。And what you see is hell, for fear is hell. 上天赐给了你所有的解脱途径、眼光、慧见及内在的向导，他们都会带领你和你所爱的人，连同整个宇宙，一同处理地狱。All that is given you is for release, the sight, the vision, and the inner guide. All lead you out of hell with those you love beside you, and the universe with them. 正是你在这宇宙扮演的角色吧。Behold your role within the universe. 上主造化的每一部分都有圣爱与生命之主所赐的救恩，使他永远免受地狱之苦。To every part of true creation has the Lord of love and life entrusted all salvation from the misery of hell. 他赐给每一个人成为救主的恩典，拯救上主特别托付给他的神圣之子。And to each one has he allowed the grace to be a savior to the holy ones, especially entrusted to his care. 当他开始对待弟兄如同自己， 还能进一步把弟兄当作自己的一面明镜时，表示他已在学习人间救主的功课了。And this he learns when first he looks upon one brother as he looks upon himself and sees the mirror of himself in him. 他的自我概念从此被打入冷宫，再无一物阻挡得了他的视线，扭曲他对眼前事物的判断。Thus is the concept of himself laid by, for nothing stands between his sight and what he looks upon, to judge what he beholds. 就是这一慧见使他看到了基督的圣容，并且了解自己看到的每一张脸都是基督圣容。And in this single vision does he see the face of Christ, and understands he looks on everyone as he beholds this one. 往昔的黑暗如今充满了光明，遮住他视线的那层纱幔终于揭开了。For there is light where darkness was before, and now the veil is lifted from his sight. 遮住基督圣容的那层面纱，或是你对上主及救恩的恐惧，或是你对罪疚与死亡的留念，名目虽然不同，却都是同一错误。它就是你和弟兄之间的那个间隙，拜你的自我幻象之肆，硬生生地把你和弟兄拆散了。The veil across the face of Christ, the fear of God and of salvation, and the love of guilt and death. They all are different names for just one error, that there is a space between you and your brother, kept apart by an illusion of yourself that holds him off from you and you away from him. 判断之剑是你赋予自我幻想的一把武器，它奋力维系呢拆散你和弟兄的间隙，不让爱进入。The sword of judgment is the weapon that you give to the illusion of yourself, that it may fight to keep the space that holds your brother off unoccupied by love. 只要你手中还握着这把利剑，你必会把这具身体当成自己，你眼中的弟兄便与你分裂为不同的个体了。其实他手中持的是一面明镜，反映着他的另一面目，而那正是你的本来面目。Yet, while you hold this sword, you must perceive the body as yourself, for you are bound to separation from the sight of him who holds the mirror to another view of what he is, and thus what you must be. 所谓诱惑，不过是你仍想留在地狱受苦的愿望。What is temptation but the wish to stay in hell and misery? 他所能给你的，不过是一副饱受地狱折磨的可怜形象罢了。And what could this give rise to but an image of yourself that can be miserable and remain in hell and torment? 只要你学习不再如此看待弟兄，你便已拯救了自己，也成为其他人的救主。Who has learned to see his brother not as this has saved himself, and thus is he a savior to the rest. 上主已将所有的人托付给每一个人，所有偏爱的救主只会得到片面的救恩。To everyone has God entrusted all, because a partial savior would be one who is but partly saved. 上主托你拯救的神圣之子，就是你平素所遇到或看见，却不是庐山真面目的那些人，包括所有萍水相逢、相知已久、素昧平生，或你已遗忘，甚至尚未出生的人。The holy ones, whom God has given you to save, are but everyone you meet or look upon, not knowing who they are, all those you saw an instant and forgot, and those you knew a long while since, and those you will yet meet, the unremembered and the not yet born. 上主愿你将它托付给你的圣子，从他们每个根深蒂固的自我概念拯救出来。For God has given you his Son to save from every concept that he ever held. 你自己若还希望逗留在地狱里，怎么可能成为圣子的人间救主？ Yet, while you wish to stay in hell, how could you be the savior of the Son of God? 你若无法由自己的神圣性去看他，又怎么可能知道他是神圣的？ How would you know his holiness while you see him apart from yours? 只有着眼于纯洁无罪的神圣眼光，才可能看见神圣性，也才可能在万物中看到纯洁无罪的本质。For holiness is seen through holy eyes that look upon the innocence within, and thus accept to see it everywhere. 这双慧眼能由每个人身上唤出他的圣洁，使他得以呈现慧眼中的模样 and so they call it forth in everyone they look upon, that he may be what they expect of him. 这就是人间救主的慧见，他能在每个人身上看到自己的纯洁无罪，随时随地看到自己的救恩。This is the Savior's vision, that he see his innocence in all he looks upon and see his own salvation everywhere. 由于他不再执着于自我概念，故能用宁静的眼光认出万物的本来面目。He holds no concept of himself between his calm and open eyes and what he sees. 他目光所及，均会为所见之物带来光明，使此物的真相历历现前。He brings the light to what he looks upon, that he may see it as it really is. 不论诱惑以何种形式呈现，所映射的不外乎你想成为非你的那个幻想。Whatever form temptation seems to take, it always but reflects a wish to be a self that you are not. 这一幻想会慢慢形成一种概念，让你逐渐看到自己内心期待成为的模样。And from that wish, a concept rises, teaching that you are the thing you wish to be. 只要你还珍惜那自身自我概念的幻想，自然不会轻易放下这一概念。It will remain your concept of yourself until the wish that fathered it no longer is held dear. 只要你还珍惜自我的概念，你必会把弟兄看成他在你心目中的形象。But while you cherish it, you will behold your brother in the likeness of the self whose image has the wish be God of you. 你的看见最多只能反映出你内心的幻想，因看见没有创造的能力。For seeing can but represent a wish, because it has no power to create. 但它究竟以爱的眼光或恨的眼光去看，就看你决心要与所见之物结合，还是继续分裂下去而定。Yet, it can look with love or look with hate, depending only on the simple choice of whether you would join with what you see, or keep yourself apart and separate. 人间救主的慧见丝毫不受你的自我批评所影响，也与你弟兄是怎样的人无关。The Savior's vision is as innocent of what your brother is as it is free of any judgment made upon yourself. 他从不着眼于任何人的过去。It sees no past in anyone at all. 如此，他才能为彻底开放、不被旧概念蒙蔽，且决心只看当下的心灵服务。And thus it serves a wholly open mind, unclouded by old concept, and prepared to look on only what the present holds. 他不再判断，因为他不知道真相。 It cannot judge because it does not know. 在此自知之明下，他会虚心就教我所见之物究竟有何意义 And recognizing this, it merely asks, What is the meaning of what I behold? 于是答复就会来临 Then is the answer given. 大门霎时开启，使基督圣容得以照耀在他身上，因他在纯洁无罪中生出意愿，甘心跨越自己，因不想着眼于你内的基督，而对你执着已久的古老成见。And the door held open for the face of Christ to shine upon the one who asks, in innocence, to see beyond the veil of old ideas and ancient concepts held so long and dear against the vision of the Christ in you. 小心不要陷入诱惑，你只需提醒自己，那个荒谬而疯狂的幻想存心把你变成一个非你。Be vigilant against temptation. Then, remembering that it is but a wish, insane and meaningless to make yourself a thing that you are not. 好好深思一下，你宁愿活成的非你究竟是什么 And think as well upon the thing that you would be instead. 他如此痛苦，彻底疯狂，又充满了死亡气息。它代表一场失败、绝望、不可信赖的梦。除了死亡，无一物能结束这个可怕梦魇。It is a thing of madness, pain, and death, a thing of treachery and black despair, of failing dreams, and no remaining hope except to die and end the dream of fear. 所谓诱惑指的就是这个 This is temptation, nothing more than this. 拒绝这一选项何难之有 Can this be difficult to choose again?你必须深思这一诱惑的真正企图，然后审视你所拥有的真正选择。Consider what temptation is and see the real alternatives you choose between. 你只有两种选项 There are but two. 不要被其他形形色色的可能性蒙蔽了。Be not deceived by what appears as many choices. 你只能在天堂与地狱之间选择其一。There is hell or heaven, and of these you choose but one. 让上天赐予你的光明在世上大放光彩吧。That's not the world's light given unto you, be hidden from the world. 世界急需光明，因它如此黑暗。人间救主若睁不开慧眼，世人便陷入了绝望。他们只能够见到死亡。It needs the light, for it is dark indeed, and men despair because the Savior's vision is withheld, and what they see is death. 他们的人间救主站在那儿，有如睁眼的瞎子，自己一无所知，也没有人知道他的真相。Their Savior stands, unknowing and unknown,beholding them with eyes unopened. 除非他能擦亮自己的双眼去看世人，并且给出自己的宽恕，否则世人永远无法看见。And they cannot see until he looks on them with seeing eyes and offers them forgiveness with his own. 上主这样请求你，释放我的圣子吧。你若明白他要你释放的其实是你自己，你还会充耳不闻吗 Can you to whom God says, Release my son, be tempted not to listen when you learn that it is you for whom he asks release. 这是本课程所要教你的唯一课题 And what but this is what this course could teach.也是你在世上有待学习的唯一功课 And what but this is there for you to learn.
奇迹正文第31章最终的慧见 Chapter 31 The Final Vision. 7. 人间救主之慧见 7. The Savior's Vision